Have you ever noticed how people react when you decide to walk away? Sometimes it's confusion. Other times it's anger, resentment, or even guilt. But why? Why does your decision to leave make others so uncomfortable? Is it fear of loss, a bruised ego, or something even deeper? Carl Jung had a powerful explanation for this, one that reveals not just the psychology of those left behind, but also the hidden power of walking away. Because here's the truth. Choosing to walk away isn't just an act of self-preservation, it's an act of power. It disrupts the dynamics people are used to. It forces them to look inward, to confront things they may have been avoiding. And today we're going to break down exactly why people react the way they do, how Jung's psychology explains it, and most importantly, how you can use this knowledge to your advantage. Walking away is a simple act, yet it carries immense psychological weight. When you decide to leave a relationship, a friendship, a job, or even a certain way of living, you're not just making a personal decision. You're shifting the dynamics that others have grown comfortable with, whether they were healthy for you or not. Carl Jung, one of the most influential minds in psychology, explained this phenomenon through his concept of individuation, the process of becoming your true self. Individuation requires breaking free from societal expectations, unhealthy attachments, and the roles others impose on you. It's about stepping into who you are meant to be, rather than staying confined to what others expect of you. But here's the problem. When you walk away, you don't just change your own life. You disrupt the status quo. The people around you are forced to redefine their world without you in it, and that can be unsettling. If your presence validated their beliefs, filled an emotional void, or gave them a sense of control, your absence takes that away. This can trigger feelings of confusion, insecurity, or even resentment. Many people don't want to examine their own insecurities, so instead of reflecting on why they feel this way, they shift the blame onto you. Jung described this as the shadow projection effect, the tendency for people to reject the darker, unexamined parts of themselves and project them onto others. The shadow represents the parts of ourselves that we deny, suppress, or refuse to acknowledge, our fears, insecurities, and hidden flaws. When you walk away, especially from people who benefited from your presence, you may unintentionally become a mirror that reflects their shadow. Maybe they relied on you for validation and now feel exposed without it. Maybe they resented your independence but never admitted it to themselves. Maybe they avoided dealing with their own issues by focusing on yours. Whatever the case, your departure forces them to confront something they would rather keep hidden. Instead of introspecting, many people externalize their discomfort, and that's when they make you the villain. You're suddenly labeled as selfish, disloyal, or ungrateful, not because you did anything wrong, but because your decision forces them to deal with emotions they don't want to face. It's easier to call you the bad guy than to acknowledge their own dependence, toxicity, or emotional immaturity. This is why people often lash out when you leave, not because you harmed them, but because your absence removes their sense of control. This is especially true in relationships where power dynamics are at play. If someone saw you as a source of emotional security or validation, losing you feels like losing a part of themselves. But here's the truth. You are not responsible for managing someone else's insecurities. Walking away is not an attack. It's an act of self-preservation and growth. The people who respect your decision will understand. The ones who don't, they were only comfortable as long as you stayed in the role they assigned to you. Walking away is more than just a physical act. It's an emotional shift that can send shockwaves through the people left behind. While you may see it as a step towards self-growth, others may experience it as a loss, a rejection, or even a betrayal. Their reactions aren't just about you. They are about what your absence forces them to confront. Most people will respond in one of three ways: resentment and anger, guilt and self-reflection, or confusion and regret. For some, your decision to leave is seen as an act of defiance. They may feel abandoned, powerless, or even betrayed. This is especially true for people who thrive on control, like narcissistic personalities or those who have always expected you to conform to their expectations. Walking away disrupts the power dynamic they were comfortable with, and in response, they lash out. Think about a toxic workplace where an employee decides to leave because they refuse to tolerate mistreatment. Instead of reflecting on why the person left, The boss may label them as disloyal, ungrateful, or difficult. In personal relationships, a controlling partner might become angry, accusing you of being selfish when in reality, they simply fear losing their grip on you. This reaction isn't about love or concern. It's about a loss of control. And when people feel powerless, they often turn to anger and resentment as a defense mechanism. Not everyone reacts with hostility. Some people, deep down, know they played a role in your decision to leave. But self-reflection is uncomfortable, and rather than admitting their mistakes, they may first experience guilt, which often manifests as defensiveness. Have you ever had a friend who constantly dismissed your feelings, made you feel small, or took you for granted? The moment you distance yourself, they suddenly reach out, apologizing, or trying to justify their behavior. At first, they may act as though you're the problem, saying things like, "Why are you being so dramatic?" Or, "I don't understand what I did wrong." But eventually, they may start to wonder, was I actually a good friend? Did I push them away? This guilt can be overwhelming, and rather than facing it, some people suppress it with excuses, denial, or even blame. For many, your presence was more than just companionship. It was a mirror that helped them define themselves. When you leave, they lose that reflection, and for some, it creates an existential crisis. This happens often in romantic relationships. A partner who once dismissed your value may suddenly realize, too late, how much you truly meant to them. Without you, they are forced to confront a painful question. Who am I without this person? Some people navigate this confusion by seeking closure, while others spiral into regret, wishing they had appreciated you more when they had the chance. The truth is, people's reactions to your departure aren't really about you. They are about what your absence forces them to see within themselves. Whether they lash out, reflect, or feel lost, it's a sign that your decision to walk away had an impact. And while their emotions are valid, they are not your responsibility. Your journey is your own, and the ones who truly care will respect your choice, even if it takes them time to understand it. Walking away is one of the most powerful things you can do, not just for yourself, but in the way it shifts the dynamics around you. It is the ultimate assertion of self-respect and independence because it signals that you are no longer willing to tolerate what does not serve you. Whether it's a toxic relationship, a manipulative workplace, or a situation where you are constantly undervalued, choosing to walk away is a statement that you will no longer engage in dynamics that drain your energy or compromise your integrity. People often fear walking away because they believe it means losing, but in reality, it is one of the greatest acts of power. The moment you remove yourself, you force others to adapt to your absence rather than constantly adjusting yourself to fit their expectations. The impact of walking away is often misunderstood. Many believe that when they leave, those they walk away from will reflect, grow, and come to appreciate what they lost. While that can happen, more often than not, the response is different. If someone tries to pull you back, it is rarely because they respect you or genuinely value you. It is because they fear losing control. The reality is that people who benefit from your presence, especially in an unhealthy way, will struggle when you decide to leave. Your departure challenges their sense of control, disrupts their sense of power, and forces them to confront the reality that they can no longer use or influence you the way they once did. This is why many will suddenly try to guilt you, manipulate you, or even gaslight you into staying. They may act as though they've changed or suddenly see your worth, but more often than not, these are just desperate attempts to restore the status quo. To walk away effectively, you must be decisive. Indecision is where most people fail. They leave, but then they hesitate. They send mixed signals, they look back, they respond to manipulation, and before they know it, they're right back where they started. The key is to make a clean break. No second-guessing, no drawn-out emotional battles. When you walk away, mean it. Another crucial aspect of walking away is recognizing that silence is powerful. Not everyone deserves an explanation. People who disrespected you, undervalued you, or manipulated you will not suddenly understand your worth just because you explain it to them. In fact, giving explanations to the wrong people only opens the door for more arguments, more guilt-tripping, and more attempts to keep you entangled in their world. Sometimes, the best response is no response at all. You must also understand that resistance is inevitable. People don't like losing control, And when you remove yourself, they may react with anger, manipulation, or attempts to pull you back in. Expect this, but don't let it shake you. Focus on your path and understand that walking away isn't about punishing others. It's about reclaiming your power. In time, you will see that those who truly respect you will accept your decision, while those who never valued you will only fight to regain their hold over you. Walking away isn't weakness. It's one of the greatest strengths you can ever develop. Carl Jung understood that walking away is never just about leaving a place, a person, or a situation. It's a psychological revolution. It forces people to confront what they've ignored, to face the uncomfortable truths they've buried. Some will hate you for it because your absence strips them of control. Others will grow, forced to look within and evolve. But in the end, walking away isn't about them. It's about you. It's about reclaiming your power, breaking free from what no longer serves you, and stepping into the highest version of yourself. If this message resonated with you, then you understand the weight of this choice, the strength it takes, the resistance it invites, and the transformation it brings. This channel is dedicated to exploring the depths of power, psychology, and philosophy, giving you the tools to master your mind, rise above limitations, and create a life that is truly your own. If you're ready to dive deeper, subscribe for more insights on power, self-mastery, and the psychology of success. And let me know in the comments, have you ever walked away from something, and how did people react? Let's discuss.